Hey guys, welcome back. So today I thought I'd go through just some workflow sort of designs when it comes to hard surface sculpting. You know, like I said in many videos, there's so many ways of doing this. I think just practicing and just getting right into it is probably the best thing to do to find what works for you. Right? What some people like to do is combine a whole bunch of primitives together and then just going from there and using Boolean operations and so on. If you're doing some more concepty style design, some more hard surface organic designs like armored pieces and things like that, you would use your general sort of sculpting brushes. So I think there's not one way to do things. There's not a simple process. Hard surface or just ZBrush in general, or this process of doing sculpting is very hacky, right? So we're used to very much working in I guess, almost like a linear workflow coming from Maya or Max or any sort of poly modeling tools. When we're working with ZBrush or sculpting tools, you just got to remember it is a sculpting tool. So we are, in the end, if it looks good, it looks good, right? And we can sort of worry about topology and how things function in a game engine a little bit later, right? We're not really at that state. Like we work visually, we want it to look good first, and then we make it functional later down the track. So think of it like that. Whereas if we're working in Maya or Max, we kind of want to keep in mind how things functionally works for a game engine or for a film or something like that as we're sort of doing something. In this case, we don't want to do that, right? So I'm just gonna sort of sculpt and talk at the same time. It's a bit hard to do, but I'll try my best to do that. And some parts might get a bit quiet. I might just sort of think about what I'm doing and then just go from there. All right. So you might pick up on some things that are useful. You might not. But hopefully you can see the way I work. So I'm just going to activate Dynamesh here. And let's go to Dynamesh. And let's just see what 128 sort of looks like. I think that looks pretty good for now. And let's just roll with this for now. I'm going to use my clip curve brush to sort of cut things out. And let's see. Masking is really important when it comes to this sort of stuff because it allows us to isolate certain areas, right? To not get affected by certain things. So I want to see if I can cut this area out. And I'm sort of working sort of focusing on this side. And I know I'm going to mirror it across, so I'm not too worried about that. So let's see if I can. Let's see. Make sure I'm in orthographic here. Let's try that again. So I might do something like this. There's probably a better way to do this as well. Yeah, actually, I'll just use my clip curve brush and just cut this out. I think what I want to do is go at like a 45-degree style angle here. So cut that out, right? And what I can do is just mirror and weld this across as well. Might do the other way, so I might just cut this all the way out. Well, I'll work on one side and then I will mirror it across when I need to. Right. So I think this mirroring is doing the other way. So I might just come into Z plugins, Subtool Master, just mirror that across. That should give me the right way. So I might use my bevel arc here. Like I said, we are concepting here, so it's okay if it's not super crisp. Because we'll go through a process later where we will sort of clean things up, right? Make it ready for a game engine, right? And that will in that process will clean things up a lot, right? So it's okay if it's not exactly right. So here I'm just holding down Alt as I do this bevel arc. So what that will do is that will do the opposite. So before, when I was doing that, I wasn't holding down Alt, and it will create this nice filleted edge here, like that. But if I hold down Alt as I do this, it'll do the opposite. So you can sort of see what it's trying to do, right? So in this area here, it will create this nice edge. But on these outer areas, I want to make sure I don't hold down Alt, because then so I can get that nice curve basically. Oops. Okay. So I'm just going to merge these two subtools. So just merge visible. I just want one, so just merge down. So that little pop-up before was just telling me that what you're doing is not undoable, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. So I'm just playing with different sort of bevelings and things like that to see what I can get. I think I want a nice, I'm just going to take the floor grid off just by pressing that. Great. Let's see if I can clean that up with my clip curve brush. Do the same for the other side. Okay. I think I want this a little bit softer, so I might use my high polish here and just smooth this area out a little bit. So I'm going to press X to bring my symmetry back on. I want that so harsh. I think I do want to soften that out a little bit. Holding down Shift as well, just to soften that edge a little bit more. Might do the same for down here as well. Okay, I think I want to extend this area down the bottom a little bit more. It's looking a bit too short. I'm just going to bring that out. So I'm just masking this out and then inverting it and then just using my move tool to bring that out. Remember, when we do that, we're stretching out the polygons a bit, so it's probably a good idea afterwards just to Dynamesh that and fix that up. Right. I think this area here, maybe I want to polish down. I think that looks nice. Might do the same for up here as well. Again, we're sort of just concepting something at the moment. It's okay if it's not perfect. We will fix this up a lot later down the track. Bring that in a little bit. I want a little screen here. I'm just going to do like a I don't know what this is. It's like a little sci-fi device thing. Right. And I want the edge to be rounded. So there is a button up here in your macros, I think. So here in your macros, and there's a macro here called round, apply round corners to mask. I can round out that area, which is nice. And it's going to try to work with my masking tool to see if this will work. So if I can just pull this down, right? So I don't quite like the edges here. It's looking a bit too messy for my liking. So I might see if I can experiment with working with my my geometry edge looping. So let's press Control W to create a polygroup here. And then let's create a loop around the polygroups. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's see if we can now then just isolate that out and then move this down. So I think I want this in the center of this gizmo. So I'm going to press X to undo my symmetry or turn that off. And then just press this button here. So this will go into the center of my mask. Whilst holding down Alt. Oops. So hold down Alt, press this button. Fix the rotation. And then if I press Control or Alt, sorry, and click on the mask or the surface, it will jump to that that surface. So the gizmo will sort of stick to that surface, which is nice. Just reset that rotation again. Now, if I hold down Control and use the scale, I can scale inwards. We'll sort of inflate it, which gives me a nice sort of effect. And I think I do want to scale inwards proper. You can see now like the edges are nice and clean as I did that group loops. Scale that in as well. Just take a look at that. So I got the bottom there by accident, but we'll fix that up later. I might bring that down just a little bit more. Great. So with this bottom part, what I'm going to do is probably use my planar brush and bring that piece back out. Just make sure I don't have symmetry or anything like that turned on. Let's turn that off. Let's bring that out. fill this gap right up. I can always fix those guys up a bit later. Okay, so what's going on here? So basically what's going on, it looks like my, right? Kind of messed that up a bit earlier maybe. So let's just fix that up. And just to tidy that up, I'm going to use my clip curve brush. Great. Okay, so I'm just going to polish things out, I think, just to sort of refine these edges a bit more. Just to try to think about what I'm trying to do here. I think I even know myself. Okay. Right, let's use the IMM brushes. I think I want this to be a bit thicker. So what I'll do is probably isolate or mask half of this. Just bring that out a bit. I don't want to ruin this area here that we've just sort of made by scaling it out too much. And I might use my planar brush to see if we can flatten this area. So I find when I'm doing a lot of like hard surface designs, I'm sort of going back and forth over the same areas. So like you do something, then you ruin it, and then you just go over it again and you fix it. I think that's part of the process as you're sort of concepting something. That's kind of normal. So it's I don't think it's a bad thing. You just got to keep that in mind that at least for me anyways, that happens. Right. So I'm going to increase the focal shift to the negative 100. So it's a nice hard brush. And I just want to put some little, let's see, let's go to the mask pen and let's add some circles here. Let's bring that focal shift back down. Just creates a hard brush. So the dynamic, the Dynamesh needs fixing. So you can see that I stretched it out. So I'm just going to press, drag little blocks into open space. Remember, when we Dynamesh something, it sort of ruins things as well. So that's like the reason why in this stage, I don't think it's important if things aren't perfect, because as you Dynamesh itself is very destructive. Like it just messes things up. Doesn't matter how high the resolution is, it just does. So don't worry if it's not perfect. You're still sort of, you're at this stage where you're just working things out, I think. So I don't think it's such a problem. So I'm going to group loops this. So create a polygroup here, and then group loops. these guys. See what we can do. We can pull this down like that. If we want the areas to be a bit softer, we can experiment with the masking here in the tool palette. So we've got masking, then we can sort of work with blurring the mask or diluting the mask. So you've got to press this a bunch of times, especially when you have a really high poly mesh. Right, so you can sort of soften some areas out. Let's try blurring the mask and then diluting it. Creates this sort of effect. Right, I think that looks pretty good. And I think we can get that a bit better. So let's blur that out. I don't want this edge to be so sharp, I think. I kind of do want it to be a bit sharper than that. Okay. Then let's go to my IM brushes. Let's use a primitive and then let's just bring this guy in. So in this case here, I think I do want a separate subtool. So what I'm going to do is just Control Shift to select this object here and then split hidden. The split hidden, if you forgot where it was, is just in your subtool palette where it says split. And if something's hidden, you can just split it from here. It just creates a new subtool. I'm just going to scale this around and just get a particular look that I'm going for. Let's see. Might Dynamesh this guy as well. Let's go to geometry and Dynamesh. And let's flatten some of these areas out. So let's use the, let's just use the clay buildup. Let's go to our transform and let's use symmetry and let's use a radial symmetry. So we want to make sure we're using the right axis here, which will be probably the Z, it looks like. And right now, what it's doing is it's using the world space symmetry here. So we want to activate local symmetry. That should fix that up. Great. Then let's sort of flatten some of these areas out. So I want to increase the radial count quite a bit. So when I just make a stroke here, I can easily fillet this edge out. And I really like doing this on circular sort of shapes here because it's kind of fun. Let's quickly smooth this area out. Let's use a low intensity here. And then let's continue with what we're doing. And I want to come into here. See if we can come up with some sort of design just to create an interesting sort of shape. Then let's combine that with our trim brush. So let's use a trim dynamic. Let's flatten some of these areas out. Get a nice sort of, kind of like a nice filleted edge. Flatten this top out, or we could use the planar brush to bring that all the way out. I think it's just, you just got to experiment. For sure, you got to experiment and just see what you can sort of come up with. Right. I'm just basically trying to look for, just trying to make a dial essentially. I think I like this sort of flatter edge a bit more. Let's see. And for here, let's just isolate this object so we can see it a bit better. So on the side tool palette, I'm just going to press solo. Let's see what I can sort of come up with. So I think radial count's a bit too much for this look. So I'm going to hold down shift, drag out a straight line. And if I use my damn standard in these little gaps, oh, maybe not. Maybe I'll use my layers brush. So that will give a nice flat surface. I'm going to bring that intensity up. Bring the sizing down a little bit. Let's try that again. Great. And I'll use my trim dynamic. See if I can flatten these areas out. I'm also using my smooth brush as well. Right, let's get this. Let's see if we can maybe pull some of these areas up. Just using my my scale tool to sort of flatten it out a little bit more. And what I can do here is just move it around or pull it in. I think I might pull it in a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's get out of that. So we create our little dial here. And let's take a look. So remember, it's like from this view, it looks pretty good. So you also got to think about it from how close you're looking at the object. Now, again, we're just concepting something out. It's not going to be the final look, right? So it's going to press Control to duplicate this mesh. I don't think I care if it's in the same subgroup. So I'm just going to continue to do that. Right. I think maybe these ones here I might and turn symmetry off. Let's just move maybe these ones, this one here up a little bit more. Scale that up a bit. Okay. So we can work on some buttons as well. Pretty much do the exact same thing where we're sort of masking out areas like this. Or what we can do is probably mask out the area that we want our buttons to be. Maybe about here. And then we can use our masking pen. And with Alt selected, we can just sort of paint away essentially. Right. But I think what I want to do is use a different brush. So maybe use the rectangular. Something like this. And yeah, you can come up with your own button designs as well. And you can use that macro again. So we can use rounded corners. And I think in this case here, what I want to do is probably assign a polygroup to all of these buttons. And then with those polygroups, I can go into my edge loops here, group loops, grab these guys, mask them out. Then Let's do something like this. Great, so we've got these buttons here. I can use my IMM brushes as well if I wanted to and create a button here. So I might just like make one button and then I can it's being weird. It's coming in at an angle. So what I'll do is actually just come into my subtool, append a cube. So where we're looking at. Actually, you know what? Yeah, a cube. So let's do a cube. Let's grab that cube and bring it over. And I can just shape that out the way I want it. And it's a button, so I'm going to keep it pretty simple. And it's just a simple sort of design here, so I'm not spending too much time on it. If I was going to create something a little bit more serious, I would sort of sit down and really work things out. All right, press Control D to smooth some of these corners out a little bit. And let's see. Squish this down a little bit. Like that. And if we wanted to put a little cut on the end of these buttons, we could do that. We could just use our clip curve brush again. Something like that. And we could fix this up a bit. Like if we wanted that to be a bit more perfect, I can come into here and still fix that up. Shouldn't matter too much. I don't think, when we sort of clean this up, it shouldn't matter, I don't think. Because we are going to it's going to be easy to fix up. I don't think I want the edges to be as sharp though. It looks a bit too sharp, so I might just come in with my high polish and smooth just to hit these edges a little bit, right? Just to smooth them out and also blend it back in. So you can't quite tell that it's not perfect. Great. So we've got our little buttons here. I think what I'll do is just recess that a little bit. And let's just copy this across. So I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier. I'm just going to press Control and just drag this over. It's got multiple subdivisions. Saying it's not liking that, but thought it shouldn't matter. So let's just delete lower. Let's just drag that across. So what I'm going to do here actually is I'm going to show you a little trick. If I hold down Control and drag out, whilst holding down Control, basically what I'm doing is dragging out the distance that I want. And with this move still activated, if I release Alt and just continue dragging, it will just repeat that button placement. So we drag out the space that we want that array to sort of happen. Release Control and keep dragging, and it will drag out different multiples, which is pretty cool. Really handy for certain things. So I'm just gonna move this guy here into place it's a bit better. Great. And then because this is all one subtool, we can just do the same thing. In this case though, I'm not going to copy these across. I'm just going to make one first and then just scale this inwards just like that. And then let's see if I can just continue that. I might make these guys a little bit bigger and continue that. Make them a little bit smaller. Great. And then I'm just going to bring all the buttons down a little bit. Cool. So we've got our little radio here. I'm going to add some more machine-like features, I think. So let's use the clip brush, or one of the trim brushes anyway. So let's use the trim holes. And I'm just going to add a bunch of like little holes here. And let's use the symmetry tool. Let's see if we can get symmetry to work. So activate symmetry. Let's see. Oh, it's going to be too hard because they're not centered. I could center everything. All right, let's do that. So I'm going to move everything back to the center. So what I'm going to do is just reset all of this. So I'm going to press this button here, which is to affect all the subtools. Now I'm just going to reset the rotation and then bring this home. Let's see. Honestly hate doing this. So what I'm going to do, this is the way I normally do it. So I want all of these subtools to move, basically. So I'm just going to create a new folder. And this is just a temp folder. And just make sure everything I want moved is in here. Great. So over here with this folder highlighted, I can press this gear and then transpose set. And then just move that. So I'm going to center the gizmo, hold down Alt, press this pin here, and press home. And then press home without pressing Alt. It should bring that right into the center. Hopefully that's the center. It doesn't actually look quite centered. So it might not work in this case. That's okay. So sometimes centering inside ZBrush is a pain sometimes. A lot of times you just got to eyeball it and then just sort of fix it up later. But let's say that's fine. All right. So let's go back into here and then let's use the trim brush again, which is in our Lightbox brushes, trim brush. I'm going to use trim holes. Yeah, it's not centered. It's close. You know what? This will work, I think. So I'm just going to make little holes everywhere. Maybe one over here. Let's take a look at that. Then one over here. I'll fix that up later. Let's do one over here. And could do little ones over here, a smaller one. I think that'll do. Right. And then I'm going to add a insert multi-mesh brush and use my machine parts. And then let's see what I can find here. Where's that screw? Looking for that screw again. I think it's in the other one. Industrial parts. So we've got this one here. So we're going to add that in. Like that. And then what I'm going to do is isolate this, hold down Control Shift, grab these guys. So it's in multiple subtools. So what I'm going to do is actually go into my subtool palette on the right here, and then just go split unmask points. Right. That way we have these guys as separate objects up here. And if I solo this, oops. Yeah. So I can solo this. Uh-oh. It's gone. Let's bring all of that back. All right, so let's see, I duplicated this. All right, so I don't need that extra one. Nor do I need that one. Got rid of the wrong one. All right, so we've got our buttons. I'm just going to move this manually. Moving things in ZBrush is honestly the worst thing. It's just frustrating. I'm sure it's a lot easier, but it's one of those things that I just struggle with. So if I can avoid it, I will avoid moving anything in ZBrush. Okay, so where was I? I was adding little holes here. Right, so I was using my trim brushes, trim holes, and just adding these little holes everywhere. And then I was using my insert multi-mesh using the industrial parts and adding the screw heads. Right. And then what I did was go into split and split unmask or mask points. That basically creates a new subtool for me of these guys here. So what I can do is just isolate them and just fix them up because they're a bit sort of low poly. So I'm going to activate Dynamesh on these guys. So let's go to Geometry and Dynamesh. Just over here. Oops, not that. So Dynamesh. Or actually subdivide. Just subdividing looked good. I might just do that. And Dynamesh it then. So I don't want it to be so sharp, I think. Might increase the resolution a little bit. There we go. Just hit that with a bit of a smooth. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm just gonna hold down Control and then copy these guys. It's not gonna be perfect, so I'm just gonna isolate them just by masking parts that I want to move and scale this up a little bit. Let's bring that into place. So I've got these little extra guys here. And just gonna move them into place. mask these guys out. Just bring them down. Deleted the old ones. Add this to the mask. And then bring that over. Cool. So that's our little radio so far. There's definitely a lot more that we can do to it. Again, it is still just the concepting phase, so we're not worried too much about if it's like perfectly, you know, symmetrical or if it's like not hard enough in some areas. Just sort of playing around with different looks at this point, and just seeing what could work, what sort of works, what doesn't, right? Okay. And I think we need an antenna in there somehow. Let's see what we can do with that. Might sort of try to fix up these pieces here. So these areas have gone a bit too soft. So let's planar this area here. See if we can fix that up first. We'll use a smooth tool or something like that. Right, and let's fix up this area. So let's see if we can planar the edge here. Or we can go out on the opposite out here. So we can flatten this area out a little bit. And I might use my masking to sort of mask this edge here. That will allow me to get a really straight line. Though that's not really what I'm after. I think what I'll do is use my, let's see if there's anything in the brush set here. So let's use a, nah. Let's see if we can just use the trim dynamic here. Right, that looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Let's continue to flatten these areas out. That needs to be flat. Combine it with the smoothing if we need to. Right, this area here. Okay, combine it with the smoothing if we need to. So we can fix this area up. Cool. Right, so let's see. We can add little, maybe like little cutouts or something like that. Could panelize something or see what we can do. Fix this back area up a bit first. Just use the planar brush to fill in those areas. And if I need to, just smooth that out. Also, I can planar the brush all the way back here, which the edges are looking a little bit too soft. I can fix that up a bit. It's a bit of an aggressive brush, so I don't know about that. It's sort of coming through here like that. Which if I wanted to add effects, if I didn't want that effect, sorry, I could use my my depth mask. You can bring that all the way up like that. And it sort of sticks to one panel, one side, which in this case kind of works, doesn't really, but can sometimes help with that. Or we could try to use the backface masking, which is over here in your brush palette. And in this case, it's not really helping. Oh, no. It's doing a pretty good job, I think. But not enough to spend all that time on it, I think. Okay, so I think that could be it for today. Just a little process of doing just like a little hard surface design, nothing too special. I didn't really go through the clip curve brush, so let's see if we can add something like a design or something like that somewhere. We could, let's see, maybe over here, could add a thing like that. Then we can pull this area to us like that, and then trim it. I need to Dynamesh this. Just wasn't giving me the results I wanted, so I'm just gonna activate Dynamesh again, then cut that piece out. But yeah, you can create this sort of effect quite easily with the clip curve brush. And if we wanted to tidy that up a bit, we just cut the sides. Just give it a nice little trim on each side. Great. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that will be it for today. Just going through just some basic sort of hard surface processes, methods, I guess. So doing it this way, we're not finalizing a mesh. Just got to keep that in mind. We're simply just concepting something out. The finalization of that mesh will come a little bit later, where we sort of create a much cleaner version of this through Z-remesher and creasing and things like that. Right now, what we're concerned with is just making a design that we're happy with, a concept that we're happy with. All right, that's what we should be concerned with. Obviously, trying to keep the edges and things like that as clean as possible. Like that does help when we're doing this sort of design, right? This sort of hard surface design. It does make the next process a lot easier, but don't be too concerned if it's not perfect, right? Let's do a quick render of this. Let's see, render this out. Great. I'll see you guys in the next one.